World leaders are delivering a firm warning to Donald Trump, a final warning to Donald Trump. You don't have any plan with Netanyahu in your disastrous war against Iran. You are helping Vladimir Putin build weapons to help Iran target American military infrastructure in the Middle East and kill American soldiers. Stop this war before you fully destroy the United States and before you fully destroy NATO. America's allies are warning Donald Trump over and over again, and Donald Trump's response is to post on the State Department website and the State Department social media accounts Donald Trump's comments about leaving NATO and breaking news that the U.S. is not going to help NATO ever again. And also the MAGA Republican Congress members bragging about their meeting with the Russian Duma leaders at the end of last week on Capitol Hill and confirming that Donald Trump and the State Department coordinated with the MAGA Republican Congress members to bring the Russian Duma members to Washington, D.C., where the Russian Duma members, when they departed from D.C. back to Russia, they bragged about all the concessions and economic talks that they were having with the United States. And this, as we're learning more details about Russia working with Iran to destroy America's military and to kill American soldiers. And now Donald Trump's only further escalating this already disastrous war, sending like 17,000 troops into the Mideast region and talking about a possible ground invasion that sources tell the Washington Post and Wall Street Journal could last months. I mean, you have Friedrich Merz, the Chancellor of Germany. He's getting on TV and saying, Trump and Netanyahu, you have no plan. From everything we heard at that G7 meeting, you all have zero plan, zero way of getting out. All you're doing is blowing things up there and frequently killing civilians and blowing up hospitals in the region. And what the hell are you doing? You have the foreign policy head of the European Union, Kaja Kallas, and she's out there telling Rubio, when are you actually going to get tough on Russia? You were here, you promised there would be sanctions on Russia and that you would hold them accountable. And now you're removing the sanctions against Russia and Belarus, inviting Russian Duma members over to the White House. You're helping Viktor Orban in the upcoming election while they're out there targeting American military infrastructure and American planes and American allies in the region. What in the world are you doing? I mean, look, you even have the Prime Minister of the UK, Keir Starmer. I mean, he was hitting back at Donald Trump and he's saying, Donald, I'm warning you. I'm the Prime Minister of the UK. I'm not the Prime Minister of the United States. I'm here to protect our people. And so when you try to bully me and you try to mock me on social media and say I'm no Churchill or this or that, and you think that's a way to help me enter the war, it's doing the exact opposite. Here's Prime Minister Keir Starmer. You can hear for yourself. Play this clip.
But a lot of what he said is designed to put pressure on me to change my mind and to get dragged into this war. But I'm not going to do so. I'm the British Prime Minister and I act in the British national interest and always will. So whatever the pressure, whoever it's coming from, I'm not going to waver on this. I will put the British national interest first. I don't think it's in our national interest to get dragged into this war. It is in our interests to protect British lives and British interests and our allies in the Gulf region, and that's what we're doing.
And you know how Donald Trump's been like courting Pakistan, and Donald Trump has pushed away America's alliance with India and Modi by continuing to attack India over and over again and say, Trump was the one who stopped the war between India and Pakistan, and India needs Donald Trump, and all Trump needs to do is dangle money and trade in front of the people from India, and that'll get them going. And the people of India were so deeply offended, and Donald Trump launched the trade war against them. It just pushed them to strengthen their alliance with Russia, and then Donald Trump removed the sanctions on Russian oil so India can get all of their oil from Russia. And then also, remember, early in the war against Iran, Donald Trump and his regime blew up that Iranian boat that was leaving from an India military parade where they weren't allowed to have the Iranian ship and Navy wasn't allowed to have weapons. And the U.S. Blew up I think it was called the Dina ship and killed, over 100 people. And then when the people were drowning, the U.S. did not help out the drowning people and let the people drown and had to have people nearby, try to help them as the U.S. just let the people drown. Well, anyway, a source from Pakistan told the Financial Times, they thought they were going to get something out of, being allied with the U.S. and Saudi Arabia. And especially with Saudi Arabia, they said this pact is becoming a problem for us. It was supposed to be cash for deterrence, pay for play, quid pro quo, the way Saudi Arabia thought it was getting a quid pro quo, pay for play from Donald Trump. But this Pakistani top official is saying, we've gotten nothing from the Saudis. We've gotten no new investments and any type of deterrence has failed. So what are we doing there to begin with? Also, remember I mentioned Kaja Kallas is basically the vice president of the European Union and she's the head of their foreign affairs. She's calling out, the United States directly. She called out Rubio at the hearing, but then she also is calling out American foreign policy. And she's like, how could you believe Putin, in any of these negotiations? And we all know what Putin's tactics are. He tries to negotiate for things that he can't get. I mean, isn't it so obvious what he's doing? This was Kaja Kallas after that G7 in France the other day. Here, play this clip.
Of course, we're worried about this. We have seen this for a year already, that Russia is really trying to achieve, and get those territories that they haven't been able to conquer militarily in 12 years, to get those territories, around the negotiation table. This is clearly a wrong approach. It is, of course, the Russian playbook of negotiations that they are demanding something that has never been theirs. And that's why we are also flagging that this is the trap that we should not walk into.
And meanwhile, the head of Iran's parliament, MB Ghalibaf, just mocking Donald Trump. You had someone who posted, the goal of the war seems to have shifted for the United States. And now the goal is opening the Strait of Hormuz, which was open before the war, to which the head of Iran's parliament says, they're playing 6D chess again. More 6D chess from Donald Trump. And we've also reported how the Houthis have now entered the war. They potentially have the ability to shut down commerce in the Red Sea, which would send the price of oil per barrel to about $200 per barrel pretty quickly. The Houthis have said that part of their escalation plan includes closing down the strait in the Red Sea, but they said they're going to wait until they escalate to get to that level. And in the meantime, they're just going to be launching ballistic missiles at Israel, while Israel's chief of their IDF says that they're facing catastrophic consequences right now as they don't have the military equipment anymore to continue on. That's coming directly from the IDF's chief of staff. And again, you have all of these European countries, Zelensky, everyone's just trying to go to Donald Trump and say, hey, you realize what's happening? Russia is providing Iran with supplies and money and resources for those drones and ballistic missiles. They're providing the surveillance. They're providing the coordinates. They're taking the images of where the United States military assets are. They're passing it over to Iran. They're working with Iran to target it. And Iran is inflicting massive damage, so much so that 13 American military bases in the Middle East have now been evacuated, and American soldiers are hiding in nearby hotels, and those hotels are now targets for Iran. And American allies are warning him, saying, what are you doing here? Don't you realize what's happening? I mean, look, Russia repeatedly captured satellite images of the Saudi Arabia Prince Sultan Air Base in Riyadh, leading up to the Iranian attack that damaged multiple aircraft and wounded 12 American troops, 2 very seriously. And this is a summary that the Ukrainian intelligence has shared with the European allies, with the U.S., and then with the media, with NBC News and others trying to say, hello, we're trying to warn you what the hell is going on. And remember, it wasn't just any of the planes that were shot, which would be bad in and of itself if Iran just targeted any of our planes. It was like the planes, like the crown jewel of the United States Air Force, the E-3G Sentry Airborne Early Warning and Control Aircraft. That comes from the 552nd Air Control Wing based out of the Oklahoma Tinker Air Force Base. That was fully destroyed. We have the photos. That's like the main surveillance plane that works with all of our interceptor technology. That was destroyed. The KC-135 Stratotankers were destroyed. And again, it's Russia passing on its coordinates and passing on the surveillance to Iran and giving Iran the technology as well. I mean, and Zelensky's just, again, he's saying, hello, do we all see what's happening here? Let's take a look at what Zelensky said. He posted, again, this is Zelensky's warning of Ukraine. He goes, when I travel outside of Ukraine, I get daily intelligence updates online. This morning, I was briefed that the U.S. military facilities in the Middle East and Gulf region were photographed by Russian satellites in the interest of Iran. On March 24th, they imaged the U.S.-UK joint military facility on Diego Garcia, located in the Chagos Archipelago in the Indian Ocean. They also captured pictures of Kuwait International Airport and parts of the infrastructure of the Greater Bergen oil field. On March 25th, they took pictures of the Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia, the Shaiba oil and gas field in Saudi Arabia, the Incirlik Air Base in Turkey, and the Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar were all imaged on March 26. There are no Ukrainian facilities on this list. But who is helping whom when sanctions are lifted from an aggressor that earns daily revenue and provides intelligence for strikes against America, Middle East, UK, and US and UK bases and so on? So Zelensky's saying, Trump, you remove the sanctions on Russia for their oil. They're now selling their oil to India and throughout the world. They're making billions of dollars a day, and they're using that money to help Iran kill Americans and to destroy American critical infrastructure and military equipment. What are you doing right there? And we're out there trying to help you, and you're attacking us. What are you doing? So Zelensky goes on to say, when surveillance is carried out over facilities in Ukraine, we always understand that they must be protected, since plans are in motion to destroy them, energy and water infrastructure, military facilities, and so on. Everyone knows that repeated reconnaissance indicates preparations for strikes. How can sanctions be eased if this is what the Russians are doing, right? Zelensky's saying it. How could you be easing the sanctions on them, America, Trump, when they're out there doing reconnaissance to destroy your military and to kill your soldiers? How are we even talking about this? And one of the things that Zelensky is also indicating here is either, Trump, you're getting this intelligence and you're complicit with Russia in destroying American military equipment and killing American troops. You're either complicit, or your intelligence is so horrible at this point that Ukraine's intelligence is so far superior because we know all of this is going on. So if we know it's going on, you're telling us your intelligence services don't know what's going on? I mean, do you see what Zelensky's posting publicly? Do you see these warnings that he's putting up there? And he's giving warnings to the world right now. He's basically saying Donald Trump's colluding with Putin to hurt the American military and to hurt these countries in the Middle East. And what did we see this past 48 hours? Zelensky meeting with the leaders of Qatar and Saudi Arabia and UAE and striking military deals with them to provide them drone interceptor technology, Ukrainian drones, and also the Ukrainian surveillance and radar systems and the support for how to actually track these Iranian drones. So Zelensky's given these warnings and then cutting deals because these countries right now are not being helped by the United States security umbrella, and the security umbrella that's replacing it is the Ukrainian security umbrella. Zelensky goes on to say, there must be pressure on the aggressor, and lifting sanctions is certainly not pressure. It looks strange. Sanctions are being lifted while the aggressor is providing intelligence to strike facilities, including those of the countries that are discussing or have already lifted the sanctions. Do you see what Zelensky's saying right there? It looks strange. Strange is the very specific word that like it's strange. Like you're either working with them to destroy your own forces or your intelligence just doesn't work. And I think he seems to suggest that it is the former right there. So then Zelensky's like, look, we want to prepare drone deals for partners who are helping us. Again, that's another way of saying the U.S., you're in helping us. And be prepared for any challenges. A drone deal includes drones, electronic warfare systems, and most significantly, the complete system of defense. We might not have enough patriots, and he puts that in quotes, but we do have a system capable of integrating any defensive lines or layers. And this is the most valuable asset Ukraine possesses today, the experience of our military. If we want Ukraine to be treated at a high level, it is more important than only drones. It is our specialists and our military. The combination of experienced military personnel with private and public sectors in one system is exactly what we should offer as a long-term export model, so that the private sector, the state, and our military all benefit. Today, we have started such steps with 3 countries. Remember, Qatar, UAE, and Saudi Arabia, they held meetings with. And so here he's also saying, yeah, the U.S., you have your patriots, and we might not have enough patriots because the U.S. is not giving Ukraine the Patriot missiles that were promised to it. And the U.S. is now refusing to provide Europe with the Patriots that were ordered in order to help Ukraine so that the U.S. can divert that money to the U.S. use of the interceptors. And also Donald Trump wants to hurt Ukraine. But Zelensky's like, we might not have the Patriots. Sure, because you're like basically, blackmailing us, Donald, in essence, in my opinion, is what he's saying. But he's like, we've got our own technology and we know how to actually fight and deal with this. And again, he's warning that the U.S. has no clue what the hell it's doing or is being complicit with Russia right now. And by the way, on the front of being complicit with Russia, MAGA Republican Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna posted the following yesterday. It appears there are some very angry, low IQ members of Congress who seem to think that the State Department did not approve travel for peace talks regarding Russia. These are the same people who have been useless and failed to do anything, especially when it comes to actual peace negotiations. Dems, to answer your question, while you were sending taxpayer dollars to fund Ukraine, who then turned around and sent that money to Joe Biden's re-election campaign, which failed, this administration, and yes, members of Congress, including myself, are working toward a peace deal. You can come talk to me on the floor, which you won't because you're cowards, or complain to reporters. Either way, you're on the losing side of history. I will 1000% back peace efforts. So you have Anna Paulina Luna, MAGA Republican Congresswoman, making a stunning admission that Trump's State Department was the one who sponsored the visit by the Russian Duma leaders. That's basically like their Senate. At the same time that the Russians were working with Iran and are working with Iran to kill Americans and destroy our forces in the Middle East and elsewhere, MAGA Republicans in Congress and Trump are saying, we want to help Russia right now. And again, that's where Zelensky's warning the world like, hey, this is strange, isn't it? That the party being attacked is lifting the sanctions on the people attacking them. Like, weird. Do we all see you see the public warnings being made. And then the latest news from the Wall Street Journal and NBC and the Washington Post that the U.S. can deploy over 17,000 ground troops near Iran if Trump approves. Donald Trump is now weighing this ground invasion in Iran that may not be a full-scale invasion, but maybe like a half-scale invasion. And meanwhile, I saw the letter that was sent to all of the Marines talking about the potential for a mass mobilization there as well. So you have all of these warnings that are taking place right here. And then we see stories like this. And I want to make sure that we give it the right amount of attention here. BBC verified this as well. The U.S. was likely responsible for another deadly strike on a residential area in the Iranian town of Lamerd. Experts say Local officials say at least 21 people were killed. The U.S. declined to comment on the findings by the BBC here. This also follows U.S. and Israeli airstrikes over here. And you can see just some of the aftermath of that with like little babies that were, hurt. I mean, it's just, again, the images of Beirut being totally demolished, like the suburban areas, not just Hezbollah, like all of southern Beirut being absolutely demolished, right? Obviously, the complete and utter destruction of Gaza and the fact that there has never really been a ceasefire and the constant killing of innocent people there by Israel with the support of the United States. And in Iran, whether it's Manab, the killing of 165 little girls, what we're seeing here, these mass casualty incidences, and then the U.S. doesn't respond. It's really absolutely horrible and tragic to see. So you have all these warnings to the world right now and to Trump about working with Russia, essentially. What are you doing? This is strange. You're helping the people who are attacking the attack on the Saudi Arabia Riyadh Air Base. Over $1 billion in damages taking place, right? And Iran, you saw the head of Iran's parliament mocking Trump. We'll keep you posted every step of the way. I just want to give you detail, fact, so you understand what's going on. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to add the MeidasTouch podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts for new updates every single day.